Everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from the Federalist. This one is dated July 16th, and it's another article about Joe Biden and the corruption of his administration, specifically about what happened at the end. But it says the Biden staff coup was the biggest conspiracy against Americans in history. Maybe a little hyperbolic, I can talk, but we're going to go ahead and get into it and see what it says. It says Republicans can't stop investigating the Biden staff coup until people go to prison. Yes, that is what people want to see, is there need to be penalties for this. Otherwise, it's going to keep happening. It says the past week finally blew the lid off the worst political corruption scandal of the 21st century. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, that means the criminal conspiracy behind it is already winning. The revelations of the last 7 days indicate that the cover-up and exploitation of former President Joe Biden's deteriorating health by his inner circle were more treacherous than first suspected. Moreover, we now know for sure that their conspiracy is still alive. Exhibit A. Last Wednesday, Joe Biden's White House physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, finally appeared before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee after months of delays. He was subpoenaed as part of the committee's investigation into the former president's mental incapacity. As the president's official physician, O'Connor would have been consulted and probably conducted neurological assessments on his patient as soon as Biden started falling down in public in early 2021. He may have also tested and treated him for prostate cancer. O'Connor knows better than anyone when, how quickly, and how badly the president fell into cognitive and physical decline. And remember that, right after Biden left office, they were like, oh yeah, he's at prostate cancer, advanced prostate cancer. I was like, well, you guys had to have known about this when he was in office. There's almost no way you couldn't have known about it. So just reminding everybody before we move on here. So he knows who else, he knows who else in the White House knew. Yeah, of course. He knows what steps were taken to conceal the president's condition from the public and how he abetted those deceptions. It was no surprise then that when O'Connor's deposition began, he took the fifth. Exhibit B. On Friday, Ashley Williams came in for questioning. Williams was Biden's deputy director of Oval Office operations while in the White House and still works in his post-presidency office. She had, and has, a front row seat to Biden's decline and, like O'Connor, had firsthand knowledge of the White House's cover-up. Williams did not take the fifth. It says she didn't. Okay. She didn't have to. As luck would have it, Williams doesn't remember anything about working alongside President Biden for the last 5 years. I don't even remember seeing anything about her saying anything. I don't remember this one at all. I remember the doctor and then some of the other people that are probably we're going to go into here, but I don't remember anything about this. So she just doesn't remember anything? Okay, sure, that's believable. Because according to a source familiar with Williams' 5-hour interview, the highly accomplished Ivy League educated lawyer could not recall. If she spoke with President Biden in the last week, if teleprompters were used for cabinet meetings, if there were discussions about President Biden using a wheelchair, if there were discussions about a cognitive test, if she discussed a mental or physical decline of President Biden, if she ever had to wake President Biden up, and how she got involved with his 2020 campaign. So she's just being a lawyer, but it'd probably be more believable if she pled the fifth, though it's still this is just, adding to, we already know that people knew what was happening and they just don't want to get caught for it. As congressional Republicans must understand what's happening here. O'Connor and Williams' silence is not about covering up Biden's cognitive decline. It's about covering up the executive actions that a syndicate of Biden staffers allegedly, illegally discharged in his stead, actions that, if the allegations are true, would be rendered null and land the syndicate in prison. Good. That is what everybody wants to see, that wants justice to prevail here. So that's why there has been so much scrutiny this week about Biden's use of the White House, Biden, that is Biden in scare quotes, so his use of the White House auto pen to sign thousands of pardons and clemency orders at the end of his term. By late last year, remember, Biden was almost catatonic, a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. I think that's from the Her report. So it's a matter of public record that Biden was forgetting the names of old associates. Yet the syndicate would have us believe old Joe personally reviewed and approved thousands of pardons and commutations in the final weeks of his presidency. Ironically, even Biden's trademark nepotism undercuts the theory. After all, no one doubts that Biden personally signed the sweeping pardon for his son Hunter, the famous painter and crack addict. That was corrupt, sure, but all Biden. The others, no chance. Yeah, there's a few of them, and I'd struggle to recall who they were, but there were a few of them where I'm like, after the auto pen thing kind of became public, I was like, is that something like some leftist in the administration did, or was that Biden himself? Because it just doesn't seem like something Biden would actually do. But continuing on. It says that's why, 2 days after Williams could not recall and returned to her day job in Biden's office, the former president gave a surprise interview to the New York Times. The headline ran, Biden says he made the clemency decisions that were recorded with AutoPen. Well, I'm glad you guys told him to say that before he said it, because he did not have that thought on his own. It says, except that's not what the story said. On the contrary, White House emails from January 19th show that it was Chief of Staff Jeff Zients authorizing the midnight AutoPen pardons. That was the tranche that included the pardons of Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, Adam Kinzinger, and everyone else involved with the Democrats' disgraced January 6th committee. Yeah, and that needs to be investigated as well. And I would, just for that alone, would like to see that these particular pardons for those folks were BS, because then you can go after those people because they need to be gone after. Okay, what they did was very Soviet, very communist, if you will. And very traitorous, as a matter of fact, says the only evidence that Biden actually ordered these pardons is assurances from the very people we know lied about Biden's cognitive abilities all along. So the trust me, bro defense says in this context, the events of last week, O'Connor's silence, Williams' amnesia, and Biden's hallucinations are not a smoking gun. They're a declaration of war. The criminal conspiracy that sees control of the federal government is going scorched earth against the Constitution, the rule of law, and the American people. It's because Democrats think they can get away with anything and no one's ever going to hold them accountable. That needs to stop. It says they're trying to stall, stonewall, and obstruct justice. And of course, hiccups just decided to pop out of nowhere, so I apologize for that. This is to run out the clock on the investigations in hopes that an electoral reversal or Washington's political ADHD will save their skins. Congressional Republicans must understand that a strongly worded report, a big document dump, and a finger-wagging press conference are a win for the syndicate. Congress cannot allow it. Instead, they should follow the precedent set by Democrats' vaunted January 6th committee. That committee, remember, threw Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro in jail for refusing to testify. They hired TV producers to stage primetime hearings. Yeah, I think it was the guy who, he's like the president of ABC or something like that. I don't remember his name, but it was someone like that. It says that's the new standard they set for congressional investigations. Republicans must follow suit. Yeah, the shoe is always going to end up on the other foot, so don't do something that you know the other side's eventually going to do, and Republicans should do that. So the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee can give O'Connor immunity and force him to testify without the ability to plead the fifth. Flipping low-level hoods, after all, is how you build cases against organized crime. If Democrats on the committee vote to block the immunity, Republicans should force them to do it in prime time in front of the cameras over and over again. Force them to join the syndicate's omerta and defend its corruption. And omerta, for people that don't know, it's a mafia term. It's just like the code of silence. So, you don't say anything. It says, expose congressional Democrats for what they are. Coup co-conspirators after the fact. It says, to listen to elites, the biggest problem in American politics today is the public's perpetuation of conspiracy theories about our ruling elites. But that's 180 degrees backward. The biggest problem, the real scandal, is our ruling elite's actual conspiracies against the public. As the Biden staff coup was the biggest such conspiracy in American history. Congress has the power and the precedent to hold them accountable. Doing anything less will only make them part of the syndicate themselves. Yeah, and I think that's what we're starting to see now is that, people on what the left would call MAGA, it's not just MAGA, it's people that just want to see people held accountable for their actions. That's what they want to see. They want to see people going to jail over this. They should be tried. Because otherwise, as I said earlier, it's just going to keep happening and no one's ever going to be accountable for anything. And it's like, why should people care about what happens in the country then if no one's ever held accountable for breaking the law? So that's it. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.